Welcome to La Taverna Friuli Wines, the definitive podcast on wines from Friuli, Venezia Giulia. I'm your host, Wayne Young. Okay, we're a little late. Sorry, everybody. Our guest is running a little bit late this evening. Filippo Butussi is on his way, so there will be a moment when you hear some background noise of him getting into the room. Hi, Sue. Welcome. How's everybody doing tonight? Paul is here as well. Hi, Paul. How you doing? Really happy to see you here too. Gonna invite you guys up on stage right away, but feel free to come up whenever you are ready. And I'm gonna start pinging people in as usual. I hope everybody's doing okay tonight. Like I said, we are waiting for Filippo Butussi to arrive. He is a little bit running behind schedule, but he is on his way. He said he will be here in about 5 or 10 minutes. So I am here, though, with my lovely co-host, Natalie Benlolo. How you doing, darling?
I'm fine, thank you, Wayne.
Always a pleasure to see you, have you here in the Taverna studio.
I love
or
being
studio
here.
Taverna, whatever it may be.
Love being here. Yep. Lesson. Every week is a lesson for me.
Well, I have you here because I love your openness and your willingness to learn and your questions that maybe I wouldn't think to ask. So
because you know the answer to most of them, many of them.
And I don't think to ask them. So, and you do.
I'm assuming, although one should never assume, that there are also listeners. It's happened in the past where some of our listeners have said, "Oh, I'm just listening. It's over my head." So
exactly,
even if it's just for one other person out there to understand terminology, it's definitely a minefield. Though considering we're only in one region of the 20 regions of Italy, never mind all the other wine growing countries in the world, there is so much to learn.
There is so much to learn. And, sometimes I just take it for granted that somebody knows what malolactic fermentation is or knows what a barrique is. And, you've sort of reeled me in and said, hey, what's a barrique, or, what do you mean by malolactic, or whatever that is. But it's super important for me to have your support here so you can sort of come in and, clear up those things that I wouldn't think of asking. So it happens all the time.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate you, Pet Butt. I want to talk to you a little bit before before Filippo gets here, about a recent trip that you made to Porto.
I did indeed, in Portugal, the north of Portugal, for the iWineTC, which is the International Wine Tourism Conference.
Okay.
The only one of its kind. It's business to business, B2B. And the focus is obviously on wine tourism. I think it was its 12th year, but don't quote me on that. And it was very interesting. We had a stand. I was representing our region, the Movimento del Turismo del Vino, which is also connected very much to what I do.
Okay.
Where we look after currently it stands at about 50 or so wineries in the region.
50?
Yep. It was over 60, and there was the pandemic and whatnot.
So some of them,
people have
dropped
difficulties, yeah. And very interesting. There was myself. There was an Armenian wine stand, a Hungarian wine stand.
So this is worldwide.
This is international wine tourism.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a very interesting guy talking about wine tourism in Israel. We had a girl talking about wine tourism in Canada. So that was very much about, she spoke about ice wines, ice cider, which was for me also, I spoke to a Swedish guy who was talking about.
Is there Swedish wine?
The Swedish wine.
No kidding.
The Swedish wine. I've said that. I have to double check.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, certainly the Canadian and the Swede were connecting on this ice thing.
We make wine like above the Arctic Circle.
But this whole idea, from what I understand of, and please correct my technical or lack of terminology, harvesting when the grapes are frozen.
Yeah, ice wine. Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
And so it makes it, I don't know, sweeter. I imagine it being sweeter, although I don't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you talk about ice wine, what you're doing is you're freezing the water inside the grapes. And so what comes out is basically pure sugar. It's lots of glycerin, lots of sweetness. It's sort of a way of artificially concentrating the amount of sugar that comes out. So yeah, ice wine is almost always super sweet.
Interesting.
And delicious.
Right. So I've heard. Didn't taste any. They didn't have a stand. Also, the guy from Israel was very interesting. He said that in the last, I don't know, maybe 30 years, they've gone from something like, again, anyone out there who knows better than me, don't quote me, but it was something like 30 to 300 wineries in 20 years plus.
In Israel?
In Israel, yeah.
Wow.
Because obviously one doesn't, you think about kosher wine.
Yeah.
But no, and lots of fantastic experiences like, wineries in the desert.
Yeah, basically.
And of course, the Israelis with their irrigation system and everything, and the kibbutz, if people know what that is, and I'm sure many of you do out there.
Okay.
So, masters at that kind of stuff.
Well, one of the most famous wineries in the world, Chateau Muzar, is in Lebanon.
Interesting.
So, and it's always sort of mentioned in the same breath with like the most important Bordeaux chateau in the world.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know the whole story behind it. I've had the wine a couple of times. It is amazing. But yeah, that's Lebanon. So there must be something about the climate there that's something about. I'm sure that there are other people in the room who know much more about Chateau Muzar than I do. But I don't know. Maybe Sue Tolson may have been at IWineTC. I'm not sure if she was there. She's in the audience right now listening, so I don't know if she was there or not. But I know she's heavily involved in the wine business, and she's from the UK. So I met her in Sicily and on some wine lover things that are going on.
Right.
So maybe she might have been there. Maybe you guys crossed paths. So it's possible, completely possible. So what about the situation with tourism here in Friuli? Was there a lot of interest? Did you see a lot of people coming to you and asking you questions or wondering about life and wine in Friuli?
Sure, because the IWineTC should have taken place in Friuli last year. It was supposed to have taken place in Trieste. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit, and so it went online.
Okay.
Which for me was still a huge learning curve. A lot of people came to me and said, "Oh, I was supposed to be there last year." The big shame, obviously, because they could have seen it for themselves.
Right. Yeah, I mean that was a huge hit. That the fact that like the one time they do it in Friuli, it gets canceled.
It got cancelled,
Yeah.
but we had everything going on in our offices where we've got the Movimento Turismo, the wine tourism movement, and we have also the sort of events part of that, which is Vino e Sapori.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's us, which is Vino di La Wineways. So we focus on, authentic travel experiences in wine country. Lots and lots of people want to reconnect after what's happened and what unfortunately is still happening.
There he is. We have Filippo Butussi. He has arrived in the Studio Taverna. We're going to get him seated and get him in front of a microphone, and then we'll be ready to go. Sue is up on stage. Maybe Sue, did you have something to say about IWineTC, or have you been there? You popped up on stage.
Yeah, I was just going to say, no, I wasn't there. So
Okay.
pop up and tell you. I'll pop back down again.
Okay. No, you can stay. Just keep yourself on mute. But this way, if you have a question, you can just jump right in.
Okay.
Okay. If anybody else wants to come up on stage, raise your hand. Now that we're getting Filippo in front of a microphone, I did want to say one thing before we got started tonight. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of people in the room, but obviously we're recording this for the podcast. And so what I wanted to say was I think we're on our 14th or 15th episode now that we've recorded. So things are moving along. So what I need to do now is I kind of sort of ask everybody who's here in the audience and listening to help us out, because we need to start to grow. And I'm doing everything I can to sort of grow the listenership here. But I also need your help. So if you are listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, what's really important is that you leave us a review. So anybody who's listening to us on Apple Podcasts, go there the next time you possibly can, leave us a review, and that will really help us get a little bit more visibility. The other thing is, share this with your friends, whether it's a Facebook post or calling your friends and say, hey, you're into Friuli wine, right? Why don't you listen to this podcast if you think it's worth listening to? I hope you do. So yeah, by all means, share it with your friends, share it on social media. I know there are people here who are connected to the wine business, so do let your friends know about La Taverna Friuli wine. And without further ado, Nat, yes?
Just if they're into wine, even if it's not Friuli, if they're just into wine. I mean, if they like their wine and they're interested in learning something or trying something new, it's interesting.
And that's what we're here for. We're here to teach people who know a little bit about Friuli and wine, hopefully that they'll learn more about Friuli and wine. So anyway, Filippo, thank you. I'm glad that you made it.
Thank you to your invitation.
No, it's good to see you here.
Okay.
So you came directly from the cellar.
Yeah, of course. Because always in this moment we are
super busy.
Yeah.
What's going on in the cellar today?
Now we are pump out the red wines to the barrels.
Okay.
The Harvest 2020, and now we are to pump inside the wine 2021 for the aging.
Okay.
Yeah. The 2020 is ready now to stay a little bit quiet in concrete for 6 months in winter.
So you use concrete?
Yeah, for after the barrel we use for 6 months concrete. This is the best way to have a little bit of stabilization of the wine.
Okay, good. And so let's get started with talking a little bit about your winery, obviously, and maybe a little bit of the history, where it came from, when it started. Valentino Butussi is your grandfather.
Of course.
So that's the name of the winery. So that's where it comes from. So tell us a little bit about how things got started and, when you came into the winery. So give us a brief history.
Okay, I try to be short. Okay.
Unlike most Italians.
Okay. Logically,
it's amazing.
My English is not really good, so
your English is fine.
Sounds pretty good.
It sounds good to me.
Thank you very much. So Valentino was my grandfather. Okay, Valentino started the winery in the first years of 90s.
Okay.
And
the 1900s, you mean?
Yeah,
not in the 90s.
My father is going the winery when in the 69, 70. Okay. This is the most important moment probably for the Valentino Butussi winery, because Valentino, was a generic agriculture. So Valentino don't make only wines, but wine, cereals, animals. And they have the osteria of the town. What is the osteria in English?
I don't know.
Osteria is osteria because it's rural.
It's like the tavern.
Yeah, it's a rural thing that exists only in the countryside.
Right. So someplace where you can get wine, someplace where you can, get something to eat, something,
Yeah, the osteria one time was the place, the people in travel, they stop for drink a glass of wine, eat something, sometimes sleeping. But if you go in the dictionary, you see the meaning of osteria is a place where to stay together and to speak together.
Okay.
Yeah, this is really nice. When my father is coming the winery in 68, 70, okay, this was the time my father have really decided to have a focus only in the wine production.
Okay. So no more pigs, no more wheat, no more corn.
No more cereals, etc., etc. One really important evolution of the winery in 1970 is the first bottles, for example. So in that time, you think that the selling of the wine was in tanks, in Damigiane barrels,
So
but
bulk wine.
yeah, not in bottles and without label. So for that, this was really innovation in that time, because you sell bottles with your name on the label, so the people finally they know what they drink.
Okay, so he was one of the first bottlers in the area.
Yeah,
He was
one of the
early.
first, not the first, but probably in that time was, I don't know, maybe 10 wineries bottling the wine. So
Really?
not
Wow.
too much. Yeah, but the dimension of the winery, was the dimension, it was really small, because my grandfather have only 2 hectares of vineyard. My father, step by step, improved the dimension of the winery, and if you think in the end of the 1990s, so 99, when me and my brother, we have started to work in the winery with my father, the dimension of the winery was 7 hectares. Okay. Was a really good dimension, but for one family. But we are 3 brothers together now. We work in the winery.
Plus a sister.
Yeah, we are
But
3
now
brothers
it-
and a sister. But my sister now is go in another direction.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
you need to support 3 families.
Yeah. Four with my father family,
Okay.
because you think, my
you
father-
can't throw your father out.
Yeah, sure.
So, you got to take care of your dad. Plus, you got to take you and your family. You're married and have 3 children,
3 children, yeah.
right? And then your 2 brothers. So yeah.
Mattia, I have 2 children.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Tobia, for the moment, nothing, but
Tobia, I think, it might happen someday. He's a happy-go-lucky kind of guy.
Tobia is the artist of the family.
There you go.
Yeah. And logically, the first step was, now we need to improve the dimension of the winery, because if we want to stay inside in 3 families, or I change work or my brother change work, but if we want to work together, we need to change the dimension. So for that, this in the 99 to the first 10 years was the most difficult, because for 10 years we don't have salary, so we put everything inside.
Wow.
And now, fortunately, so we have worked strong, and now the winery have a really good dimension, because now we are 20 hectares in production. Okay.
How many bottles total?
In this moment, we depend to the year, but we are 110 to 130,000
bottles.
Yeah,
Okay.
that depend to the production, depend to the season, because we use only our production, so we don't buy grapes out of the winery.
Do you rent any vineyards or?
We have some hectares in rent, so some is from my uncle. Okay.
So all in the family.
Yeah, all in the family. And in this moment, we are in program we are renting a vineyard in the area of Rosazza.
I just wanted Robbie is wondering, which one did you want to open, the Santuari? Yeah, or did you want to open something else?
We have 2 cru here. We have the Santuari or the Sauvignon Blanc. I don't know, maybe
Let's do the red.
the Santuari.
So the Santuari. Okay. Fantastic. Okay.
So
So now you enter the scene. You and your brothers enter the scene in the late 90s, you said.
yeah.
Okay. And you started to change things pretty radically there, not only expanding, but you also changed sort of the philosophy of the winery.
Of course, because in first step when we arrived in the winery, the production was classic for the time. So the people, you use consummation herbicides. So that was the system in that time.
Conventional wine.
Conventional, yeah, of course. And but we have seen, if we want to make high quality level wines, like for everything, so you need to start with high quality level grapes. for to have high quality level grapes, you need to have a strong balance in the natural, in all the natural things. So in the microclimate of the vineyard, you need to have a strong balance, you know.
Right.
And for that we have stopped. So we have started only with 3,000 meters. So is 0.3 hectares. So we have stopped herbicides, we have stopped consumations, we have stopped all the chemical things.
Okay.
First year 3,000 meters, second year 1 hectare, third year 3 hectares. So 2001 to 2008 we have changed the total production of the winery without chemical things.
So you're organic.
Yeah.
Okay.
In 2008 we don't have the certification of organic.
Okay.
But because this way for us was not for to put the green leaf on the label.
Okay.
This was
not a marketing maneuver.
No, was only for to make better quality in the wines.
Okay.
And but logically, when I speak with you about our philosophy, but I don't have a paper for per dimostrarti, come
To prove
you, I work in this way, so
right.
I have a certification. No, sometimes it's easy to speak, but you need to have a certification.
Okay.
So for that, in 2010 we have started certification. 2010
okay.
to now we are biological. We have the certification production in the vineyard, but always all the steps in the cellar.
So you are certified organic.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. That's amazing. And, we're about to taste the Santuari, which is one of your cru wines, 2016. Tell us a little bit about this wine before I start to drink it.
Allora, I have started because,
I was talking, so I'm going to start now.
Yeah, I need a little bit of inspiration. Allora, what is a cru? A cru is a single vineyard. So when we have started to make the wines with my father in the winery, the first step is don't have really big vinification, really big fermentation, because sometimes it's possible to make errors, and the quality of the wine, and not every time it's difficult for me to explain in English. But okay, for us the best way was to put the single vineyard in single vinification. So for that I don't make one Sauvignon. We make, for example, we have 5 vineyards of Sauvignon and we make 5 different fermentations of Sauvignon.
Okay, so you keep your different vineyards separate. Yeah. Okay.
In the end, logically, we put all the wines together. If one of these wines, the quality is not what we expect, okay, we put in another direction. So we don't put to make bottles. But, okay, in this direction, we have understand some parcels have potentially more quality respect to other parcels.
And this comes through experience.
Yeah.
This isn't that they were already established as cru. This is the years of you working in the vineyard. You've seen that every year when you harvest this grape from this place, it comes out better.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you think the way is really, really long, so to understand what parcel is better than another one, the way is really, really long in the time, because you think I have started in the cellar in 99.
Okay.
The first cru we have made in 2014.
Wow. Okay. So 15 years.
15 years to try the wines, to see what happened in the aging, and only in 14 after 15 years, we really know the potential of this wine, the potential in the moment, the potential in the aging.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you need the time not just to understand the quality that your wine is giving you year to year, but the quality that the wine is coming out after it's been in the bottle for years and how that wine ages with time.
Yeah.
This is the most important thing.
And you need time always for put your wine in line with other big wines and to understand if so what do you think is quality is really quality.
So you would taste your wines against other important wines from Friuli or from the world?
Friuli, but sometimes out of it. No, Friuli, Italian, but and always out of Italy, because for one producer like me, your wines is like your child,
Exactly.
And for you, your child is always the top one. But this is not always true. For that, you need to have to be objective, in your evaluation. And to be objective, you need to put online with your wine other big wines of Italian, France, etc., for to see if really your child is in level with the other
rest.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that's something that happens a lot in Friuli, or do you think that that's something that not a lot of winemakers do here?
Sorry, repeat me there.
Do you think that this process, because when I worked at Bastianic, we also used to do this once or twice a year, where we would taste the wines against other wines from Friuli, but one of the things that I think is true in Friuli is that not many producers do this, that they just believe their child is the most important child, and they don't put their child together with the other children to see if he's really that good. So do you think that this is something that's special about you guys, that you make this extra effort?
So I think is two different ways to think. So I think my way is to be objective. Logically, I need to respect the typology of my terroir. Logically, my wines is not wines like French wines or other Italian regions. So we are in Friuli.
Right.
We are not in another place. But you need to be objective. So, and in the valuation, you need to see where you are in the line. Logically, for other producers, they think, no, I know what is the best Friuli wines, and I make the best Friuli wines. So it's difficult to tell if my way is the right one or is her way is the right one.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you need to be to have a big expression of your territory, but you need always to put in to be objective and to see where your wines stay inside with the other big wines in the world.
Okay.
But the Friuli, I think, in this direction, the Friuli have the potential to stay in line with the other big wines.
It's funny because Nat and I were just talking about that before the show. And Nat was saying, well, when you start talking about, Bordeaux and great wines in the world, it's like, is Friuli up there? Can Friuli be up there with the great wines in the world? And I said, for me, some wines can be. Do you also believe that too?
But sometimes the people don't know, but we are in the same parallel of Bordeaux.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
No, because sometimes we see the Europe in horizontal, but the real position is not this one.
It's a little bit tilted.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for that, you think the parallel of Bordeaux is in the area of Grado. So we are a little bit north respect to Bordeaux.
Does that mean that the land, does that mean you've got the same qualities in the land?
It's not necessarily the soil,
It's
the temperature, the weather. Because a lot of times when you talk about the perfect area for growing wine, it has to be between a certain parallel and another one. It can't be too high, it can't be too low. And there's a sweet spot in there. And I think if you go across, like all the way across, you'll find that like the same level of Bordeaux is like in Long Island, and then you go across, and that's like in
Wow.
Washington State or in Oregon or something like that. So that parallel goes all the way across the northern hemisphere, and all along that parallel, you will find great wines from everywhere. So being along that sort of sweet spot, that 46th parallel, is really important, and that's where we are, just like Bordeaux.
It's the same thing about the champagne in the south of England now that they're making champagne. That idea that soil or
That's literally a
that
soil
literally
issue.
is the soil.
Yeah, that vein of soil goes from Champagne across the channel. Yeah. So you were saying, Filippo. So we are in the same parallel as Bordeaux. So can we make wines as good as Bordeaux?
I think absolutely yes. And really, the complexity of the Friuli terroir is incredible because we have different denomination, and when you start, for example, in the area of Aquileia, we are in the lower level near to the sea because it's 10 meters up to the sea, and we have a really strong part, for example, of sand. No,
Exactly.
yeah, and really high salinity. So this characteristic, for example, is totally different here in the Friuli Colli Orientali, so where we make the wines, because we are in the middle of the hills. Okay, this hills is really particular because million of years ago here was the ancient sea.
Deep seabed.
Yeah, and now under to these hills is we have all the fossils of the fish fossils of the ancient sea.
Right.
So for that, the composition of the soil is really incredible. So here the name is flesh. I don't know in English, the flesh or
calcareous marl is the word.
Marl.
Ponca.
Marls.
The typical for Colli Orientali and Collio. We talked about that with Paul Balake as
clay.
well.
Something clay. There's clay going on there.
Rock and clay.
Rock and clay.
Marl is geologically a mix of rock and clay.
Okay.
So, and calcareous based on calcium. Sorry.
Always in the Mars we have a different composition in the Mars, because some Mars is based on sand and some Mars is based on argilla, come si dice?
Clay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for example, where you have clay, the Mars is more. You have a little bit highest acidity. Where you have sand, okay, you have more calcar inside. Okay?
More calcium.
And for that, the ground is more basic.
Okay.
And the production normally is the exact opposite.
Opposite.
Yeah, where you have calcaric in the soil. So basic in the soil, you have high acidities in the wine. Where you have acidity in the soil, normally you have not lower, but a little bit lower, less acidity, but you have normally more fertility, and for that, the alcohol level is more high.
It's higher. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that's the effect of acid soils and basic soils on the wine, more or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
And logically, is really big difference when you are in the different exposition of the hills, because it's the north part, the south part, the east part, the west part. Okay.
Right.
And is the high part, the medium part, and the lower part. For example, in Friuli, we have many rivers. Okay.
Yeah.
And always the small valleys is totally different respect to the hills. For example, this sanctuary is made in a really small valley, in the valley of the Corno River.
Okay.
And this place is really particular because underground you have the Mars of the hill, but up to the Mars you have all these calcaric rocks is, I don't know in English, alluvial. So
Alluvial.
Okay, because it's come in the millenni.
Yeah, over the years.
The years
and ages.
down to the mountains.
Yeah, it's carried by the water. by the river. Yeah.
And for that, in this valley, you have this really particular composition because you have the Mars, but you have the rocks.
Okay.
And
so you have
this-
rock on top and you have marl
Yeah.
on the bottom.
I
Okay.
just want to say that the wine is absolutely delicious.
It is fantastic.
Absolutely delicious.
Thank you very much.
What is the Santuari made from?
The Santuari is made of Cabernet Sauvignon.
100%.
100% Cabernet
Wow.
Sauvignon, yeah.
Would you have believed that now?
Well, no, I'm going to say something. Coming from a neophyte, I'm fairly new compared to all of you. We were talking about Bordeaux before, and I drank Bordeaux at the weekend. And would I be out of my depth if I said that this reminded me of a Bordeaux? That it has that ripeness, that juiciness that I was trying to describe to you
Well,
before?
you do know what the principal grape in Bordeaux is.
Cabernet Sauvignon.
Oh, see?
see, I'm learning.
You're learning.
Okay.
Love it.
Wow,
So-
interesting.
So, you're getting it.
I'm
You're
getting
that
something
same
from
sensation.
this. Absolutely. Really red and really juicy and ripe and structured,
Yeah, I would say so.
fairly full bodied.
Yeah, see that? Now
I'm
you're
getting there.
already an expert. But yeah, so 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. Vinification, how is this made? So it all comes from one single vineyard.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. A single vineyard and really small single vineyard. You think
how
it's here is around 3,500 meters. So for that, the production, all the bottles is numbered, if you see.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So yeah, this is bottle 1,026 out of 2,200. Only 2,200 bottles, 2,200 bottles only.
Yeah,
So tiny.
and
So less than one bottle per plant.
less than one bottle. Yeah, of course.
Wow.
Yeah, because you think this is not a really old vineyard, but is planted in 89.
Okay.
So for that is 30 years old. And now this vineyard have a really good balance in the production. So the production is a small production, but you have a really good balance. And this is a good production for this vineyard. I think it's not possible to make more bottles than...
No.
No. Some years we make only 1,300 bottles.
Wow.
Yeah. 10 hectoliters, 15 hectoliters. This in
Tiny.
2016 was 20 hectoliters. This is really good production for this vineyard, but I think not possible to make more.
Much more than that.
No.
Wow.
For to have this quality, absolutely not.
It is very, very good. It's hard to find Cabernet Sauvignon in Friuli that is as juicy and ripe as this one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very often it tends to be quite green, very herbaceous, which is typical for Cabernet Sauvignon. But here, we don't have the same amount of heat that we have in other places. So Cabernet Sauvignon can be difficult, but this is perfect.
Because sometimes the people think when you are in the hills, you have better maturation. But for the Cabernet Sauvignon, you need time.
Okay.
And for that, if you have the Cabernet Sauvignon in the hills, okay, you have a strong exposition. You have the alcohol go immediately really up,
Okay.
but you don't have the time for the maturation of the tannins and the green part. Okay.
Gotcha.
In that valley is really fresh. We have a really strong excursion day and night. You think when we harvest the Cabernet Sauvignon in Rosasso, okay, we need to wait other 2 or 3 weeks to harvest this Cabernet Sauvignon. In these 2-3 weeks, you have the time to have a good maturation of all the green parts. Yeah.
Okay. So you avoid that sort of herbaceous side of Cabernet Sauvignon. You find a lot in Friuli.
Yeah.
And sometimes in Friuli, when you taste Cabernet Sauvignon, you can tell that it's a little bit sweet. I don't know whether they keep residual sugar on purpose, but this is super dry. There's none of that sort of, I don't know, kind of cheap kind of sweetness to it that doesn't. This has a lot of varietal character and it has a lot of depth and it's bone dry. It's super dry. And the tannins are beautiful, really, really smooth and silky. Does this spend time in wood, obviously?
Of course. So the vinification is really classic. So we need we have a fermentation with the skins. Not normal. So what is normal? When the fermentation stop, we have the separation, the wine to the skin. So, so for that, normally is 20 to 23 days with the skins. Okay, we press, we wait normally 24 hours, 48 hours. Okay, only to clean a little bit the wine. Okay, so the dirty part go down.
Okay,
and we pump this wine in the barrel.
Okay,
So,
new barrels.
We use 30% new barrels, 30% 1 year and 2 years. So normally it's three years.
You can taste it. There's barrique here, but it's not overwhelming. It's not so much.
Yeah, I think it's really important when you test the wines, you need to test the wine. So that's the variety and the territory. So the barrel, I think, is a good way to improve the expression of the wine, but you need to pay attention to not improve the expression of the wood. So
you want to express the wine, not the wood.
Yeah, you think this wine stay for 2 years in barrel,
right?
Okay, 2 years in barrel. We pump out in concrete always. When we are in barrel, the second step every time is concrete for 6 months in winter, and in springtime we put in bottle. But for this wine, another important step is minimum 1 year aging in bottle.
Okay.
For before to start the selling.
Is there a particular reason you use concrete?
Yeah. Because the metals have this electrostatic system where when you have a wine stay in the barrel, so the barrel is absolutely neutral.
Of course.
Okay. And when you put in the stainless steel, we have seen this electric things
current,
crash the the evolution, the right evolution of the wine.
Really?
We have seen in the concrete the evolution is like in the barrel, but you put in a system more close respect to the barrel, because in the barrel you have the oxygenation,
of course.
Always in the concrete, because we use concrete without paint inside.
Okay. So it's untreated, it's uncoated.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of what's the word for it? There's a little bit of oxygenation. There's a little bit of transpiration through the concrete as well.
Yeah. Of course, it's not the oxygenation like in the barrel.
Okay.
We think is around 80% lower.
Okay, but still 20% is something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course. And always this is the right a good way, because the in the hand of the way is the bottle.
Of course.
And the bottle is, you have only the space of the cork to have a little bit of oxygen.
Yeah.
So for that, you start with, this process where the wine, they have oxygen, and you go lower in direction to the bottle.
Okay. So, lots of oxygenation in the barrel. A little bit of oxygenation. Is that the right word for it, Nat? Am I speaking English correctly? Oxygenation?
Sounds good. Oxygenation.
Right. And in the concrete. And then the barrel, there's a little bit, but there's still a little bit. So it's always diminishing this level of transfer of oxygen, this oxygenation of the wine. Interesting. I never thought of it that way. Before I ask you some questions about the whole idea of doing cru wines, which is something that we've talked about before, I wanted to give everybody a chance on Clubhouse to ask a question. So if anybody in the audience who wants to come up and ask a question, Heather or Paul, Rosella, who is always here, you guys feel free to come on up and ask questions of Filippo. I'm always happy to hear from you guys. So jump up on stage. Sue's already on stage, so if you want to ask a question. My favorite ex-wife is here. Rosella has come up on stage. Rosella, hi, how you doing?
Just a quick hello.
Hello, Rosella.
Thank you. Hello, hi. and very, very interesting conversation. I didn't even thought about all these details of oxygenation. So I will keep listening to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rosella. Always pleasure to see you here. One of our regular listeners, Heather, is always here. She's always a regular listener as well. So yeah, Heather's up on stage. Hi, Heather. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Wayne? Sorry,
Doing fantastic.
I'm trying to multitask today. You know me.
Oh, you're always doing something. But always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you so much for talking. I'm really enjoying the conversation. I haven't tried any of your wines yet, but I do see that there are some available that I can order from Tanico. So I might try to get your Refosco and what was the other one I saw on there that I can try?
Yeah, definitely check
your
them out.
Robola Jala. Yeah, I don't see a Friulano on there though, but I'll keep checking for that so I can taste that one as well.
Yep.
And I just wanted to ask Filippo maybe what his favorite wine that he makes is from his own vineyard. I like to ask that, of course. And what he would pair with a Friulano.
Okay. What do you mean? Oh, what he would pair for food-wise with a Friulano?
Yes.
Okay. So did you understand the question, Filippo?
Maybe.
The favorite wine that you make?
Yeah, and what I pair with a Friulano.
With Friulano.
Yeah. Okay, my favorite wine is really difficult. It's like for you have many
choosing a favorite side.
Yeah, it's favorite side. That's
every winemaker says the same thing.
It's quite impossible. In really, I have every year a favorite side, but this is not for the quality of the wine, but is because your passion in the wine change.
For sure.
In sometimes every 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and sometimes I prefer to drink white wines. In the last year now, I have a really big passion for the Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon. So I like too much to drink Cabernet. And I think the Friuli for the Cabernet is one incredible territory. Yeah,
you just need to find the right place. You've obviously found the right place with Santuari. This is very, very good. So
yeah.
But I've tasted other Cabernet Sauvignons that haven't been so happy about.
For the Cabernet Sauvignon, I think Friuli is more difficult. You need to understand where is the right position for the vineyard. But I speak always about the Cabernet Franc. Cabernet Franc, I think in Friuli have a really big potential.
Okay.
And I think the results in many wineries is really good. And I think Jane Sacklin some years ago have speak about that and have told something like the Friuli is a really good territory for the Cabernet, and I think he have put in Paragone
compared to
the Cabernet of Tuscany, so the area of
that's a big deal.
The area of Sassicaia,
Maremma,
but
or Bolgheri.
Bolgheri, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big deal. When you're saying Bolgheri, yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Okay. Obviously a very big name in Italian design as well, Bulgari.
But that's Bulgari. This is Bulgari with a Gheri.
Bulgari.
No Bulgari.
Not Bulgari.
Yeah.
Bulgari,
exactly. And so do you, before I ask you about pairing wine with Friulano, do you make a cru Friulano as well, or no?
Not for the moment.
Okay.
We have one cru is White Angel. Okay, is a cuvée where we have inside Chardonnay, Ribolla Gialla, and Friulano. But for the moment, not 100%.
We have the Genesis here, which is 100% Sauvignon Blanc. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you make another cru wine as well?
Yeah, we make a special Pinot Grigio.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
What's the name of that one?
Is Madonna d'Aiuto. So these names is not inventions, but is
names of places.
Names of places, yeah. Okay. Sometimes is historical names, so we have in the maps, but sometimes where in the map is not names, is traditional names. So the name my grandfather, my grandfather speak when they speak about this particular parcel, no?
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't just make these names up there. They have a history.
Yeah, of course. Is toponimo. I don't know in English what is toponimo.
Nat? Toponimo?
It's the
Place
science of names, toponymy.
Yeah. Toponimo, I think it means like place name. Simple as that. But if anybody else has a better definition of that, I've always just accepted it as place name.
May I?
Yes, go ahead, Nat.
The brand of lexicology that studies the place names of a regional language, Wayne.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
So it's a typical...
The study of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
So I thought that in fact, I wanted to make a comment before that the name Santuari is very apt for this delicious wine, and the fact that you were saying you had to find that sweet spot, as you always talk about, that place that produces something like this. I just thought perhaps you'd chosen the name The Sanctuary for that. Santuari.
Yeah,
Have I made another boo-boo with...
No. No, but I think what
Allora,
Filippo was saying-
Santuari is because in the parcel of this Cabernet Sauvignon is a small church. Okay. Is the Sanctuary of Madonna d'Aiuto.
Right.
And in this parcel we make two of the crus. So Santuari, so the Cabernet Sauvignon, and the Madonna d'Aiuto. Madonna d'Aiuto is the Pinot Grigio. Okay. But it's because in this parcel is the Santuario of Madonna d'Aiuto.
See that?
Wonderful.
You got
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and my father in Friulano language one time tell, where we go today? Anin tal viñal del Santuari. So,
Okay.
today we go in the vineyard of the Santuari. So when you have different vineyards, so to explain to the people where we go today, okay, we go in that vineyard. What that vineyard? The vineyard of the Santuari.
Okay.
Because Santuari is Friuli dialect, Friuli language. Sorry.
Okay. But it seems, Santuari, it's a familiar
Does it mean
word.
the same as sanctuary? In English, a sanctuary is a place where you go to find peace.
In Italian, santuario is kind of like a holy place.
Okay,
So
well-
if he has a little church there, then it's dedicated to this Madonna d'Aiuto.
Peace. Yeah.
Exactly. We didn't answer Heather's question. Friulano con? What do you pair Friulano with?
Friulano is our top white wine in Friuli Venezia Giulia. And
Okay.
why is top? Because it's possible to pair with many different things. So the kitchen in Friuli is really particular because it's a poor kitchen. Because you think in the Friuli we have many different dishes with, for example, the pig,
Right.
but we have an incredible number of dishes with wild grasses.
Foraging, you're talking about like sclopit,
Sclopit.
the wild asparagus that you find in May. Come si chiama quel...
Pungitopo?
No, thin asparagus that you find.
Or we have the sclopit, we have the glaudins, urtichons.
Ortichons.
That's the ones you
okay.
were thinking of, ortichons.
Yeah. No, we have
It's incredible,
Yeah.
The amount of foraging that people do in the
Foraging is the
spring,
word.
it's amazing. Yeah.
in the springtime. You go in the fields and you see full of people. They pick up everything, and that's incredible. And you to make a good pasta or to make a good risotto or a good frittata.
Frittata with sclopit, yeah. I made a bunch of sclopit frittatas this year.
Did you?
Oh man, that was like one of my favorite things. My mother-in-law gave me like 10 kilos of sclopit frozen, and we just would make the frittatas with those.
And what did you pair with your sclopit frittata, Wayne?
Oh, I drank a lot of different things. I drank everything from like light red wines until Sauvignon Blancs and Friulano for sure. And even some beer on a hotter day. So there you go. So I'll try anything. Come on, I'm not picky. So there you go, Heather. So that you so these local sort of wild herb dishes, whether it be a frittata or it be a risotto with these wild herbs, then that's what you want to pair with your Friulano. Okay, so
Thank you.
You're welcome, Heather. Absolutely. If anybody else wants to come up on stage, pop up on stage. I'm always happy to see Paul. Paul always asks some really amazing questions. But I do want to ask about the whole idea, Filippo, of having cru wines. because you and I have talked about this before when we were both on the Consiglio of Colli Orientali way back when, 10 years ago. I was very much in favor of broadening the categories for Friuli wine. So I was a big fan of DOC Friuli, which basically was a DOC that encompassed the entire region of Friuli. And you're looking at the other end of the pyramid. You're looking at tiny micro vineyards, cru zones. What do you think? Do you think that that's important for us in Friuli to start really establishing these little cru areas?
I think Friuli is really the potential of the quality in Friuli is incredible, but we need to see. We have really particular parcels inside to this small territory. Okay. And like I have seen my winery, so in these 20 hectares we have some really small parcel with a stronger potential than the other ones. I think this is same everywhere in Friuli, but this is the story of the Piemonte, this is the story of the Bordeaux, etc., etc. So I think the name Friuli. It's important to have the name of Friuli up of this parcel. So if we have a parcel like Madonna d'Aiuto, or for example now, I don't know if you know, we have the new sottozona. What is in sottozona?
Subzone.
Subzone in Savorgnano now.
Okay.
Yeah, is probably with the harvest 2021 or 22. We have definitely.
I think I did hear about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is important for the Friuli because you have a Savorgnano, but up to Savorgnano is Friuli Colli Orientali.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have the top of the pyramid,
the tip, yeah.
The top,
top, whatever.
Okay,
tip
yeah.
top.
Okay. This is important for all the territory.
Yeah.
Because, you drink a really important wine. It is in a small territory, but this wine speak the language of the old territory because up there is Friuli.
Okay.
And this small wine, I think it's important for all the territory. So this small wine, but like the other small wines, for that, the top of the pyramid, I think it's a really important thing to have a complete communication of all the territory. Yeah. Another important thing is when we speak, for example, about the Friulano, the Friulano in Butrio, in Corno di Rosazzo, or when we go in Tarcento, the characteristic of the Friulano is different.
Yeah.
So we have always really good Friulanos, but in Tarcento, the acidity, the freshness, and in Butri and Corno di Rosazzo, you have a little bit more volume.
And power, yeah.
Yeah, you have more structure, you have more fruits, for example. In Tarcento, you have more grasses. So we have and I think the cruise is always important for this thing. For example, if you have a restaurant, and your clients tell, what we pair now with frittata with clopit, and the restaurant tell, but I think now we can pair with this Friulano because it's more fresh. You can clean better the grasses, and etc. So,
yeah. Oh, okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
That was my chair. Sorry.
That's okay.
How many different wines do you make, and what are they?
Too much.
Because it's interesting. What I've learned in the time that we've been doing this and talking to different people is that some people make like 5 and some people make like 25.
Yeah.
And they're all fairly small wineries. Some are smaller than others, but I'm curious. I'm making a chart.
We are part of the second list, so
Okay.
the 25, yeah. Because we make Ribolla Gialla Friulano d'Aix Tokai, Pinot Grigio, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and Verduzzo Friulano, Picolit, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, Refosco, Pignolo, one Ribolla Gialla Sparkling, but in Charmat system, and one Ribolla Gialla in classic system, so like Champenoise. Okay.
Oh, wow. So 2 sparkling Ribollas.
Okay, and this is the our classic line, so it's the fresh wines. Okay, but we always have the cru line. In the cru line, we have for the moment 2 reds and 3 whites.
Okay.
Okay, for that you can see the production is. Yeah, we have many wines.
Have you ever thought of reducing the amount of wines that you make?
Oh, the project, yes.
The project is
yeah,
this. Okay.
The project is this.
So, okay. I won't ask you which one. I'm not going to ask you which child you're going to sacrifice since they're all your children. But how many wines would you like to arrive at? So not telling me which wines you're thinking of stopping, but what would be for you the perfect number of wines to produce?
I think it's possible to produce in Friuli probably 5 whites and 2 reds.
5 plus 2.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you make more whites than reds by volume?
Absolutely.
Yes.
70%.
70% whites. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Because, there's a lot of debate on that about how many white wines people make and, is red wine even better? I mean, there are some wineries that only make red wines. Like Muschioni, he only makes red wines. Or who else were we speaking with who only made red wines? Somebody else. I forget who. But anyway, one of the people on the show said, I only make red wines. So for you, 5 plus 2. And that would be perfect. Including your cru wines.
You can't sacrifice that.
The ideas now is not really easy.
Yeah,
to
sure.
think now about these decisions, but why not?
Yeah,
probably to arrive in 1 red wine and 1 cru, or maybe 2 red wines and 1 cru red wine. Okay. I don't know. Yeah.
So this is long-term plans.
Really long, yeah.
Really.
Can I ask?
Oh, well, you're young, so I mean, you have lots of time.
42.
42, yeah.
Young
baby.
Yes,
exactly.
Can I ask a technical question?
Go ahead, Nat.
Cru comes from 1 vineyard. Okay,
Yeah.
just literally 1 vineyard. Is that the same, and I think the answer is no, as making a single variety wine that comes from, like if you make something that using just 1 grape, it can come from different vineyards?
Of course.
Okay, but so cru specifically refers to 1 vineyard. That's what makes it cru.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Giusto.
Because only in that vineyard you have that characteristics.
Okay.
You move of only 200, 300 meters, but the soil change, the exposition change, the temperatures change, and for that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cru is always connected to 1 specific place. So, and that's the key. You could make 2 wines from the same cru, like you were saying before, where in the same vineyard where he makes Santuari, he also makes the white wine. It's the same vineyard, but they have 2 different names. So, but it's always
Santuari and Madonna
d'Aiuto.
Madonna d'Aiuto.
Exactly. Okay. So that cleared that? Mm-hmm. With that? Good. All right. So, one of the things that I think that I've always really liked about you is that you have, Filippo, this intense love for making sure that you're expressing the territoriality, the local flavor of every grape variety that you make. So, and this is why I think maybe continuing on from that conversation, crus are so important to you because you're trying to say this place makes a really special wine, and so does this place make a really special wine. Whereas often in Friuli, you just make Pinot Grigio, and it can come from anywhere. So, is place the most important thing when you talk about wine?
But I think the variety is the variety. But the most
the
important,
grape is the grape.
The grape is the grape. But the most important thing is the territory. I think one really important demonstration of that, for example, is the Merlot. Two of the biggest wines in the world is 100% Merlot. One is the Petrus in France, and one is the Masseto in Bulgaria.
Okay.
It's 100% Merlot.
I didn't know Petrus is 100% Merlot?
I think, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I'm not really sure now,
but the most...
absolutely. If it's not 100, it's 90.
It's very close, yeah.
Okay. Absolutely. But, for example, you can make Merlot everywhere. New Zealand, South Africa, everywhere in the world.
California, New York.
But you think two of the most important wines in the world is quite 100% Merlot. So, why? Because these wines is expression of the territory. So, it's Merlot, but it's not possible to make this Merlot everywhere in the world. Okay. It's not possible to copy the territory, the terroir everywhere in the world. The terroir is the terroir. So the terroir is the maximum expression of everything.
Okay.
For that, yes, the Pinot Grigio is made everywhere in the world, but you need to know the Friuli Pinot Grigio is considered the top Pinot Grigio in the world.
Right.
And I think in the Friuli Cru, you can make the top Pinot Grigio of the top. Yeah.
So the top of the top. So even better than,
And Pinot Grigio is very, very popular. I can speak for people in London. Sorry, coming from London, I don't want to be London-centric, but they love Pinot Grigio. Everywhere I go, pubs where they sell, less than average Pinot Grigio, but people want to drink it all the time. And I also read recently that Friuli is considered one of the best regions for some of the best Pinot Grigio, which makes me feel very optimistic about the future for wine here, because it's not easy to make it grow. How do you make it grow? The popularity of the wine from here, maybe one of the problems is production levels that you were saying to me before. Where do you distribute your wine? What countries?
60-65% is Italy. The rest, 25 is Europe. Okay. Now we have a really important contact in England. Okay. I have tomorrow I have the visit of the responsible of the England importation.
And all of you who can't see, he has his fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So very happy. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the rest, 7-10% is United States and China.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do have a market in the United States?
In this moment, we have two small importers.
Okay.
Yeah.
But 65%
65%
is here at home.
Yeah. For us, the Italian market is for the moment is the top.
May I ask, which regions are your biggest sellers? And I'm curious.
In Italy?
Because when I speak to people, because my job is to promote our region for wine across the world. So it's not in Italy, it's all the other countries that are interested in wine tourism. That's what my job. And people always say, Tuscany and like Garda, people. And so Friuli is always a struggle, something different. Which are the biggest regions that you sell to here in the country?
I don't understand the question. So,
where do you sell the most wine in Italy?
In Italy, I think the biggest selling is here in Friuli. Okay. But for example, another really important region is the Lazio, so the Rome city.
Okay.
Good, nice.
And all the coast to Ravenna and down Rimini, Riccione, Chieti. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
All this touristic area for us is really important. But always Tuscany,
Tuscany too.
In
Really?
Yeah. All the area of
Selling coal in Newcastle, as they say.
That's
Nah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic to hear that.
and in
Right.
Tuscany they make really important red wines.
White
But
wines.
no, they have always good white wines, but the Friuli white wines is better.
Much better, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
Not
yeah.
that you're biased or
No,
anything.
well, yeah, exactly.
Nessun
So,
pregiudizio.
no, I like the fact that it's important, the idea of having your wines in a place where there's a lot of tourists, because obviously, and this is a lot of Italians who go to like Rimini and Riccione and all that sort of area there. So they come from the cities and they go there for vacation and they enjoy your wine while they're chilling at the beach, which is super important. This way they always go back home with a really amazing impression of wines from Butussi. So yeah, that's great. I'm really happy for you as far as that's concerned. Yeah. So any plans for the future? Any sort of new things on the horizon? We're a little bit past the 1 hour mark now, so I do want to sort of start finishing things up, but some new projects, new wines, new ideas, something that you can tell us about?
One important thing, we are changed the aging of the wines because for different years we have used the classic barrique.
Okay.
But the barrique, is from France. But traditionally in Friuli we have another barrel, so it's the 700 liters.
Okay.
And,
So bigger than a tonneau.
Absolutely bigger than a tonneau, but the difference is 3. So bigger. The second is the dimension of the spessore.
The thickness.
The thickness
Of
of
the staves.
because
Yeah.
normally the barrique is 24 millimeters, and in this case is around 35, 38.
Okay. So very thick.
Yeah. And the barrique is made with fire.
Right.
And the Friuli barrel is made with steam.
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 Okay. Vapore.
Vapore, yeah.
Okay. So you don't have a toasting.
You don't have toasting inside. For that, it's really, really delicate. Especially for the white wines, is fantastic.
Now see, I never knew about this. So there's a typical Friulian style barrel,
Yeah.
700 liters, thicker staves, and steamed instead of toasted.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
I'm a big learning curve.
Okay. I certainly didn't know that.
You come in cellar, we can try.
And you have to show me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because I had never heard about that before. I had heard once that barriques were, and we're talking really ancient times, the selection for containers for wine here in Friuli because it was impossible to ship wine with a wagon through the mountains and through the hills in amphorae because they were made of clay and they would break. So they would make wooden containers because you could roll them and put them onto a cart and drag them with a mule and they wouldn't break open. And this, from what I understand, started in this corner of the Alps. Is that true? Or is that so? Did you ever hear this, Filippo? No.
I don't know.
But I had heard this idea.
Yeah,
so
I think we know this is the tradition.
Yeah.
Because we see in the old cellars, we've logically
See
barrels
this.
from 100 years ago.
Okay.
This was the style of the barrels.
Okay.
And really, the project is for the next years always start to use others types of wood. So not only oak, but I don't know in English, tiglio, castagno.
Castagno is chestnut. Tiglio,
Yeah.
what would tiglio be?
Tiglio was
Lime?
really typical here.
Yeah.
Lime?
No. Tiglio lime. Well, yeah, it's called lime, but it's not definitely. The wood is not lime. But anyway. So yeah, chestnut, but you don't use any of these woods. Yours
Not
is
for the moment, not
just
for the
oak.
moment. We have tried in the 300 liters and 500 liters, but we don't have the good results. because these different woods is the porosity is really high. For that, you have a really important oxygenation, and if the dimension of the barrel is small, the oxygenation is too much.
Okay.
Okay, in the 700 liters, probably you have the right balance.
Okay, the right
But,
proportion.
this is a really long way because you need to try 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So it's a really long way.
Okay. Yeah.
Limewood.
Limewood.
It is limewood. Well, it's from a lime. It's limewood. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you looked that up. Okay. Good. Okay. So I want to just ask everybody here on Clubhouse if they have any other questions for Filippo. I have Sue and Rosella and Heather up on stage. If anybody wants to come up, Rosella, did you have a question?
Yes, as usual. I would like to know where they are based, because I keep taking notes of the vineyards you suggest, and sooner or later I will be visiting them.
That's I'm sorry. I thought we did that already. Where are you based?
No, but I
Filippo?
arrived too late. So
Oh, you
it's my
found.
fault.
But Filippo is based in Corno di Rosazzo in Colli Orientali. So
Great.
And they have a wonderful wine shop there. So you can go by. They have like right on the main road going into Corno di Rosazzo from Cividale. They have a beautiful wine shop there where you can go in and buy all their wines. So definitely worth a visit.
Yeah, I guess so. Thank you very much.
Come up, Rosella. Paul, you came up on stage. Thank you for coming up. Do you have a question for Filippo?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment of just how enjoyable this chat was. I learned a lot about Friuli, and the only comment that I think really resonates is this idea of Friuli really being the number one region in my mind for white wines. When you were talking earlier about Tuscany and red wine, and so. With that said, I'm looking forward to going to Friuli one day because I've discovered so many great wines, and some of them as part of this Clubhouse podcast. So just wanted to thank you for that.
Well, thanks, Paul. You're always welcome. And do not come here without telling me so we can meet up and we can take you around.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm looking forward to trying your wines, actually. I'm looking for them here in Southern California, Mr. Butussi. So,
So are you distributed in Southern California, Filippo?
We have an importer in California, yeah.
What's the name of the importer?
The name is the Lettieri Company.
Lettieri?
Yeah.
So there you go, Paul. Lettieri Company in California. That's where you'll find the Butussi wines.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
You're
Paul.
welcome.
See you in Friuli or on the next podcast, whatever comes first.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. I think I'm going to let you go home, Filippo. You've had a long day.
We don't have problems, absolutely.
Anyway, but I do want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I want to thank Sue and Rosella and Heather and Paul for being up on stage. Vanessa, my favorite ex-wife, Ricardo and Cole for being here. Thank you, Nat, for being here as always. Always lovely seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie,
Filippo.
for
Thank
taking
you,
care of
Robbie.
things behind the scenes. And Filippo, thank you very much. And I've
Very
known Filippo
interesting.
like 20 years now, and it's always a pleasure hanging out with Filippo. We've drunk a lot of wine together, and I'm sure we will drink a lot more wine together. So, yeah, thank you, Filippo, for being here tonight.
That was a really big pleasure for me.
Big pleasure for me.
Grazie.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Filippo.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Good night,
Cheers.
everyone.
Bye.
Mandi.
Attenti pure, non sto
Mandi.
Bandi.
Thank you.
Hey, I want to thank everybody this evening for coming. Thank you for listening. I appreciate Natalie Benlolo, our co-host, Rob Milani, our sound guy. Follow me on La Taverna Friuli on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram at Wayne Grape. And you can find this awesome music on YouTube at Beat Ambassador. Finishes with an A.